Right. So next topic is cloud security. So we talked about how the gateway itself is a layer 7 firewall. You could do all these application policies. We have web content filtering. We have role-based access. We manage the state of all the sessions that go through it. We talked about dynamic segmentation. But when it comes to certain specific use cases, customers always have standardized on third-party security providers. That could be Zscaler in some cases, Palo Alto Prisma. We have customers that are using Checkpoint Cloud services. So we always have followed open integration models. We have really good integrations with most of the cloud providers out there, security providers. And that's what we want to show. In this case, just examples of the providers that we work with. And with Central, we could fully orchestrate the tunnels to those cloud security providers as well. It's just not about tunnels between our endpoints, like our branch gateways tunneling back to our hidden gateways or another branch gateways. But it's also about how do we simplify the use case of third-party security. For instance, Zscaler, they have hundreds of POPs around the globe, and you have branch locations. For instance, I was talking about a customer that has 7,000 locations. There is no way you could go to each location and say, okay, I'm in Santa Clara. The closest Zscaler POP is Sunnyvale. If that has a problem, the next closest is Seattle. Can I build tunnels? And then you have to do that for 7,000 locations. It's just not scalable. So we have started to do API integrations, which is what we wanted to highlight. You can go to Central and provide the third-party API gateway credentials, just like how we integrate with Amazon and Azure and so on. You could provide third-party credentials for our partners, such as Zscaler. And depending on the location of the gateway, and based on the public IP address, we figure out what is the local branch address, and we automatically find out which are the two closest Zscaler POPs. We build tunnels automatically, and we push the role-based policies on the gateway in terms of which specific role needs to get tunneled to Zscaler.
So I have a question for you on that, because I saw geolocation on your last slide.
Yeah.
And a real challenge that we're having right now with the exhaustion of IPv4 is that blocks are starting to float between regional internet registries more commonly to address the exhaustion. So geolocation is becoming less and less reliable in the world of IPv4. How are you handling geolocation validation?
We are actually using standard APIs that are available to figure out what, given a public IP address, what exactly is the location. That's what Zscaler API provides back to us. So we make an API call to Zscaler in this instance, provide our public IP address, and they return back two POPs.
Okay.
Depending on their awareness of what location it is, and that's how it is. What we can also do is, when customers enter the lat long of every branch device, we can provide the lat long as well. It's not just reliant, because customers have multiple ways to update the locations of their devices. And some of them just do a straight-up API integration or spreadsheet saying, here are my 1,000 locations. Sure. I'm providing you the address. And Central can actually map them into different lat longs. And we can provide that to Zscaler as well, and they would provide back. So if IP address is kind of becoming unreliable, we can just go based on lat long, which is way more accurate.
Are you allowing for a comparative between two different geolocation databases to split the difference?
Not yet.
Okay.
So we can actually chat offline to see how we can. Yeah.
So quick note on that. The geolocation, there's two things we do with regards to geolocation. One is the geolocation-based policies native to our firewall. Those, we get the database from Webroot, okay? We say, hey, we have this IP, where is it coming from? They say, it is Spain, it is Austria, it is Russia, it is the US, okay? That is living just us. When we talk to these guys, what we tell them is, the orchestrator tells them, I have these WAN IP addresses. Where do you want me to tunnel them? And in this case, Zscaler tells us, you're in California, go to the node in Fremont and the node in LA. And
no, in certain cases, the public IP address to mapping is not reliable.
Yeah, right. I get that.
Yeah, you get that.
If I have a block that's been transferred from RIPE and it suddenly is now in San Jose.
My question is, but my point is, we ask them, and they are the ones that figure out where is my IP address. Okay, and they have the mechanisms. They have a whole business around that.
Sure, right. I work on the ISP side. We have to contribute this data to those databases, which is why I'm asking the question, because it's a challenge right now.
Absolutely.
I think another option is to start looking at Wi-Fi.
Right. I was actually going to ask if you look at traceroute data at all to verify that the path that you're going over and analyzing that is also taking you to the region that you expect that you're going.
Not yet today. So we have to figure out how do we make sure that the geolocation is accurate. There's a couple of ideas that you mentioned we want to explore.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big problem right now in the ISP space. It's a growing issue.
Yeah. Splitting the difference, definitely, and the other one is the traceroute path. Yeah. Okay, so why don't we show the demo? I think they get the idea. So in terms of how easy it is to integrate with third-party cloud security vendors.
Okay, so very straightforward. What I've done here is in my, once again, network services, like everything orchestrator is living here, I've entered my Zscaler credentials, username, password, and a token, so that Central can go into the API. That gives us access to, that allows us to say, hey, I have these sites. It allows us to go to their nodes and say, hey, create these locations, create these VPN credentials for my nodes to go in. And by the way, these are my IPs. Where do I point them to? Okay. Once I give them those IP addresses, they will tell me, well, depends on where you are, right? I have one site here. We mentioned it before. That's in Salzburg. We can see how we're going to the Zscaler node in Italy and the Zscaler node in Germany. Okay. One of them will be the primary. One of them will be the secondary. When we do the PBR configuration to force traffic going to the internet to take that route instead of just doing the source net, we'll take we'll take primary with a higher preference, secondary with a lower preference. If we are not in Salzburg, but we are down the road in Oakmead, you can see here how we get Fontana, which is near LA, and we get Fremont, which is pretty nearby. This one would be our primary, the other one would be our secondary. So the tunnels are, all I have configured is, all I have configured is these credentials, and I have said, I want you to orchestrate the group branch EMEA, the group branch, and the group clinic. Okay? That brings up the tunnels. All I need to do is create the PBR policies, once again, at the group level, where I say primary cost of, I don't know, 100, no, not cost, priority 100, secondary priority 50, make them preempt, and then you apply that PBR to this user role, that user role, based on whatever you need. We have some customers that are telling us, send everything to the cloud security provider. We have others that say, look, the guest, you guys do a pretty good job with web filtering, web reputation, all that stuff. We trust it for the guest access. They're not going to go anywhere in our network anyway, so leave that aside. I save some dollars on the cloud security provider, but use it for my corporate devices or use it for my IoT devices. Does it make sense?
The other use case that keeps coming up is, again, these cloud providers charge based on how many users you're tunneling them to, so it's per user license. So a lot of them have SIM integration to figure out, unless I have an event, a potential event that SIM is alerting me on, which they can actually give it to ClearPass and say put them in a different role. Only that role needs to get tunneled to Zscaler. So unless there is a potential thing, I want to do a sandbox, I want to decrypt and see what's going on, I'm good with the firewall that's there on the gateway because it has content filtering. I will keep doing direct internet access. The moment SIM tells the ClearPass, put them in a quarantine role, every session that comes out of the role, I want them to tunnel. That way they can keep the overall billing for the cloud provider in control. And you're not just doing based on, again, VLANs. The role concept helps in different use cases here.
Yeah. You do some sort of, once you decide that Zscaler is your solution choice for security inspection, do you guys do like redirects for DNS and other services to like proxy through, or how are you handling that from a...
Like Umbrella, OpenDNS, and so on.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we haven't done, these are just examples of them. If you go to our Security 360 exchange, we talk about 150 plus security partners.
Right.
So we deploy, for ClearPass, they actually have, I don't know, last time it was close to 200. So we publish integration guides for every single partner and then put that. These are just a couple of examples we want to share.